John Jones has declined the Tom Aspinall fight, which officially makes him the biggest coward in UFC history. Brandon Royval has a new opponent after Manel Kape pulls out of his 20th fight in a row, and nobody is willing to fight Diego Lopes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Money Manziel MMA production. This is kind of like almost like the alarm bells are ringing, like news I need to get out to everyone because if you haven't been paying attention on Twitter, it has come out that John Jones accepted the fight versus Tom Aspinall and then turned it down. He is turning down the interim champion. It's not like the UFC didn't come to him with the fight and they offered him some bullshit fight with like Jailton Almeida or something. But no, John Jones has turned down the rightful challenger to the belt, literally by law, the rightful challenger to the belt, all because he is a coward and refuses to fight. If you read the Ariel Helwani tweet on the left here, you can see that Dana White said that John initially accepted the fight, but then Ariel says that he actually went back on his word and then doesn't want to fight. And you could tell last night in Dana White's press conference that, it's gotten to the point with John Jones where he just doesn't care anymore. I think he's kind of given up himself on the Tom Aspinall fight a little bit. And I think John Jones has given up on it. I mean, from June 6th, he was calling out Francis Ngannou, who's 40 years old and still dealing with legal trouble after the car crash that he was involved in Cameroon. And he was talking about how Tom fanboys need to write him essays instead of signing a petition. So this guy's a coward, man. I don't want to hear him in GOAT discussions anymore. It's shameful that we live in a world where the heavyweight the heavyweight champion of the world is turning down the interim champion in MMA. This isn't boxing where you can get a fake title challenger, short notice this, short notice that, whatever money works. No, you're the champion, you defend against the interim guy. You don't turn down him because you don't get enough money for it, because you're scared you're going to get knocked out. You come off as a coward, and that's what's happened. Everyone now knows that John Jones is ducking Tom Aspinall officially, and that makes his profile picture even funnier. So we'll go through the actual list of what we found out about 2 hours ago on Twitter. So, like I said, John Jones turned down Tom Aspinall and wanted a lot of money. The UFC gave him the money, which he asked for. He said, if they give me the money, I'll fight him. So they give him the money. And then he's like, oh, wait, no, I still don't want to fight him. I don't want to get knocked out in a minute. Because that's what's going to happen to him. The UFC tried to make the fight. He doesn't want to do it because he's scared. That's what that tweet doesn't say. But the worst part of this all, it would be one thing if John Jones is like, you got to pay me a crazy amount of money, otherwise I'm retiring. No, he still wants to fight. He's actively saying that he still wants to fight people, just not the interim champion. It's unbelievable what we're witnessing with John Jones. Of course, the UFC are upset with him for his behavior and Twitter antics. I believe that it's going to be announced within the next couple of days that he's stripped of the belt. I think that's a reality. I think this is going to put the pressure on the UFC to do something about it. I think we get John Jones is stripped of the belt, Instagram Live, and you get Aspinall versus Gane, more than likely, for the undisputed title, because Aspinall will be upgraded to undisputed, more than likely. So I'd expect that information soon. I bet they do that. UFC 320 is the main event. Would not be shocked with that, but unbelievable what we've witnessed from John Jones. I'm sorry for starting out hot like this, but it's insane to me that we have an undisputed champion that will not fight the interim champion. I don't really get that. And it doesn't make any sense either. Like, how do we live in a world where you have a belt and you're not willing to defend that belt against the guy who should be challenging you for the belt? It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. It's to the point for me, especially, where I don't care to see John Jones fight anybody. I don't care to hear him in a GOAT discussion. I don't care to hear about him in Ngannou talks or Pereira talks or I don't fucking know any talks. I just don't want to hear any more about John Jones. So that's what we know about John Jones and Aspinall. I'd expect another announcement soon. Probably a crazy Kev MMA announcement, that short loser. Either way, next up on the docket of MMA news, Diego Lopes. Sorry, I'm sitting in a car and there's a guy that just sprinted in front of my car. Diego Lopes said that he's been offered 3 different guys and accepted the fight each time and hasn't heard anything back. I assume this is why they're not doing it in Mexico, although I think there were some arena issues with it too. But he was supposed to fight Gene Silva. I'm sure that Gene Silva would take that fight. I don't think there's a reason he wouldn't. Pico would take that fight. But the real issue is Yair. Yair is so entitled. He's such a whiny little crybaby that he wins one fight by boring decision. Didn't hurt Patricio Pitbull one single time other than a little knockdown, and Yair has no finishing ability, so obviously he didn't finish him in that fight. Um, he wins versus Pitbull for his first win in 2 years. He still hasn't finished a fight since the Obama administration. So, and now he's like, oh, I don't deserve to fight a number one contender. I only deserve to fight Volk. Says fucking who? Who says that you deserve to fight the champion after being battered by him when you fought him? And then you come out there versus Ortega, get mauled over the 3 rounds before being submitted in a weak submission where you gave up on the ground. You don't deserve to fight for the belt. What are you talking about? Volk's easiest night at the office is with you. Fight Diego Lopes, main event a fight night with it, crowded arena. That's a banger of a fight. I'm not saying that Yair's a bad fighter, but he's entitled. And he's a crybaby, and he whines whenever he doesn't get what he wants. You can't just sit out and wait for a title shot every single time. And that doesn't favor you. You're going to lose. So it's just ridiculous what Yair's doing in this predicament. I would expect that if they don't make that fight, then Gene Silva Diego Lopes will be next. I wouldn't be shocked to hear that that's on a pay-per-view pretty soon. Not a main, obviously not a main event, but like a featured fight on a pay-per-view or a 5-round co-main event. Diego Lopes, Gene Silva. I would expect that to be next. I cannot believe the UFC's offered him Aaron Pico, but that's the world we live in, so kind of is what it is there. Yair's entitled. The third bit of news that came out earlier today, Manel Kape has pulled out of his 20th UFC fight. This guy has more cancellations than he does actual fights. He also has titties, like fat titties on his chest. Manel Kape's milkshakes are bringing the boys to the fucking yard, is what I'm saying. But he's out of the fight, fractured foot. That's what I saw on his Twitter. Joshua Van, our GOAT, is stepping up on short notice to take on Brandon Royval. This dude just fought on Saturday and is making what I believe to be a 3-week turnaround on the next pay-per-view to fight the number one contender at flyweight. If Josh Van wins this fight, he's beaten Pantoja. Josh Van already put the strap on him already. Josh Van is the champion at flyweight. We are taking the belt back to Myanmar. After we beat Brandon Royval, then we will beat Alexandre Pantoja, and we will become the champions. This is going to be a Josh Van masterclass. I saw he was like a minus 200 favorite, which is crazy. He should not be a minus 200 favorite versus Royval. I get that Royval's not that powerful, so you're kind of thinking, okay, I mean, if a guy doesn't have the power, then Van should walk right through him, but Royval's got nasty grappling defense. He can use the grappling if he has to. He's got great boxing. We saw that in the Moreno fight. So, yeah, it's an awesome short notice fight. I'm excited for Josh Van. I do think this is an example of someone who may be biting off more than they can chew on short notice, but if the momentum's hot, you got to roll with it, so I completely get it. And what a way to capitalize off the performance versus Bruno Silva, because Bruno didn't even touch him in that fight, so I can see why he'd want to step in here again so fast. So, to recap what we've talked about, John Jones is a duck. This is a real photo right here. There's nothing fake or photoshopped about this image. John Jones was in the jacuzzi with Habib and Islam and Umar. We know this to be true. That guy in the back looks inbred. Holy shit. Look at that guy in the back corner. Look at the dude to the left of him. They both look like they're dying. What is going on in the family trees over there in Russia? Either way, John Jones ducking. It's shameful, coward, pussy, bitch. I don't really know what else to say about John Jones, but everything's been said about him already. The guy's a complete loser when it comes to taking the fights the fans want and the fights for his legacy. You know, at this point, he's only tarnishing his legacy by not doing this fight. At least if he accepted the fight, people could be like, oh, you know what? At least he went out and fought him when he could have just retired. But no, John Jones, absolute loser of a guy. Next up, Yair Rodriguez is entitled. We all knew this. He's a crybaby. He just whines about everything. He's gonna whine his way into a title shot with Volk. It's unbelievable, and I bet he loses that fight by finish. So, God, I just can't stand Yair. I'm so unbelievably annoyed about the matchmaking that's going on at featherweight, but it is what it is when you have people that are bitch made and don't want to actually fight the top contenders. So it is what it is. And then finally, remember, it was supposed to be Brandon Royval versus Manel Kape at UFC 317. Manel Kape is out, and now we have Joshua Van. I'm really excited for this fight. I think it's as good of a fight. I wouldn't say it's better. I mean, Manel Kape's super dangerous and a fun, wild guy, but everyone likes watching Josh Van fight. Brandon Royval is always in really exciting fights, so I think this is going to be a war. I pray they move this onto the pay-per-view main card over that heavyweight obese slop fest. Um, so yeah, those are the fight announcements and the news that we've gotten. I figured everyone needed to know what was going on MMA Twitter the past couple of hours, so that's what I had for you boys. Obviously, frustrating, angry, upsetting, hearing what's going on with John Jones in the heavyweight division, but it kind of is what it is. I don't really know what to say about it anymore. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it. If you really enjoyed it, comment. And if you really, really enjoy me, love you, bro. Subscribe. If you're coming from TikTok, subscribe. If you're coming from YouTube Shorts, subscribe. Just subscribe for the sake of subscribing. And I appreciate all you boys. Thank you so much. Peace out.